Everyone. So how are you all doing? Just now CA results were also out, final results. Okay, so let me share my screen and start my webinar. Just a second. Here it is. So as usual, these are always the stories formats which I share with you all. Let's start with the story number 1. Okay. External quality control reviewer. Okay, so it's a new auditing standards which has been introduced in ICAI. So let's start the story. There was a company which was based in Gujarat, and they were doing quite good. So they were audited by an audit team for the financial year ended 2020. So for the financial year ended 2021, some issues happened with the audit team, and the auditor made some changes in their audit team. So what they did, the partner remained the same. Field in charge got changed because he left the firm. Even their EQCR, External Quality Control Reviewer, also got changed. New EQCR was appointed. He was having around 2.5 years of experience and he was quite knowledgeable, but he was yet to clear his CA exams. So now the question came that was this appointment of EQCR correct? Does he need to be a CA or it's okay? So being the first story, let me have in this way, I will be able to chat also. The people who think that it is correct, they can reply yes in the chat box. And the participants who think that it's not correct, they can reply as a no in the chat box. So let's wait for 10 seconds and see your replies. This will help us to interact, that's it. I'm waiting for the replies. If you think it is correct, say yes. If you think it's not correct, say no. So we have a reply from Satya Panda. He's saying yes. Okay, so let me take it further. See, this is not correct. So there's a new auditing standards 220, according to which this EQCR should be a qualified chartered accountant. Okay. So now what will happen that, let me see the chat box again. Not got your question, and Praneeth and Ishan said no. See, my question is simple, that there is a EQCR nowadays who's there. Just a second, let me, story number 1, this chat box. Okay, so EQCR is External Quality Control Reviewer. So maybe a lot of you may not be aware of the same. So just with this particular slide, essay 220, just have in your mind, this is one of the important final questions also. Okay, so the participants or the later on the people who will see the same in the YouTube channel, this essay 220 is there, and which says that EQCR should be a qualified chartered accountant. Let's proceed further with the next story, which is also an interesting story. There was a company in Hyderabad and they were involved in the retail business. The statutory auditors were appointed and the name was Messrs. Deepa & Company. Now these auditors, they did not have much experience in retail sector. So it happens sometimes that auditor doesn't have the experience in all the fields. So what happened? So this is quite surprising. So auditor said, since retail business process is known to everyone, they will not do the assessment of the inherent risk and they will focus only on the control risk. So if the participants, they are from CA inter and final, they are aware of this inherent and control risk. And even if they are chartered accountants, they are aware. So the question comes that can an auditor do so? Can he leave the inherent risk? See, inherent risk is the risk which is there. And control risk is that if you don't have good controls. So I'll give you an example of control risk. Suppose you are having a go down where you are having lots of gold is there, okay, and then you did not have any security guard, you did not had any lock and key. Yes, surprising, but it is not there. That means the controls are very weak and the chances of fraud or wrongdoing are very high. So this is the way control risk is monitored. So if suppose that particular premises was having the lock and it was having a security guard also, that means the controls are very strong and the audit risk is very low. Well, let's come back to this case. So are the auditors correct? Can they reduce the, can they do this way? They can ignore the assessment risk. So I know a lot of you know the answer, and the answer is that auditors are wrong. They are not correct in this. So till now we had two stories. So one story was talking about EQCR. Why I repeat? So that the students who are going to watch this and they are going to give the exams, so they remember it. So EQCR should be a qualified chartered accountant, SA 220, and you cannot ignore the inherent risk. So with this, the two stories are over. Story number 3. Okay, let me see what it is talking about. There was a company which was based in Pune, and they were into manufacturing of clothes, and it was run by Mr. Mehta and company. They were having very good design and effective internal controls. But then they assume that with good design and effective internal controls, they are able to find frauds and errors. So is it true or false? So answer is that it is true. Okay. And the second question is that abuse by process owners. So with the design and effective internal controls, can we identify the abuse by process owners? Give a thought. Definitely not. So this was also from one of the questions of CA final, and it will be helpful in CA inter also and otherwise also. See, adequate design and effective internal controls means, again, I'm going to that gold example, that you are having good security, you are having a qualified security guard, qualified in the sense not a CA, but he must be having his own experience. But if suppose the owner employer is shouting on him and giving him some kind of wrong language using, that he won't be able to ascertain from effective internal controls. That's quite obvious. Okay, someone is requesting a remote control of my screen. Bhavika Dhawan. Okay, what should I do? Remote control of the screen, I think. Ashna, should I approve this?
No, ma'am, you can deny this.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption. I am sorry. There's some person was asking me the remote control of my screen. Then how will I speak then? Okay, story number 4. Okay, let's move further. This is something in which there is no story, and it is particular about GST, which is one of the hot topic nowadays, and you should know about this thing. So there was a registered person registered with GST. He is having annual aggregate turnover more than rupees 5 crore. So does he has to file, which returns he has to file? Is it GSTR 9C? Is it GSTR, or is it both? So what will happen that in this case, I could have made a story, but that did not make any sense. But you should remember that answer is both. So if he is having annual aggregate turnover more than rupees 5 crores, he has to file these both returns. So nowadays chartered accountants and even you students, you are quite aware of GST. It was not there at our times, but now we are also going through the act and various webinars. Let's go to the next story, story number 5. So this, let me tell you, there was a company which was based in Pune. And as you know, the travel reimbursement is one of the dicey issue in lots of companies, because travel reimbursement, you need to submit your bills. So travel means if suppose you're going from Pune to Mumbai and then you have got some bills you have to submit, and then you can get your claim. and it needs to be approved by the senior authority. So suppose if it is a manager, then it should be approved by senior manager. But in this company, there was a big deficiency in the approval process of the travel reimbursement. Auditor was again a Mrs. Deepa and Company. They found this deficiency and they reported in the year ended 31st March 20 to the management with a report, but no action was taken by the management. So you got the story. Then what happened? See, in the next year, 31st March 21, the auditor said he again found that deficiency. Again, there was not a proper system for approval of travel reimbursements. The auditor said that it was highlighted in the previous year and no action was taken. So let's not highlight in the current year. So auditor got a bit demotivated because his observation was not taken care of in a sense. And the articles and auditors who are the participants or who will watch it on the YouTube later on, they know very well that how difficult it is to convince the management to make them understand that they need to take some actions. So now here is auditor correct that he has highlighted in the previous report. No one has taken any action. So he is thinking, why should I highlight again in the current year? If he's correct, please say yes. And if he's not, please say no. Okay. So let me again wait for 10 seconds. And I know this time I will get correct answers. Dinesh Kumar, no. Please type answers. No, 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 no. So I've got a very intellectual audience, which I was aware of always. So the correct answer is no. And logically also it is correct. You see, just a second, my cursor vanishes away. So if management, so thanks a lot for your replies. If the management doesn't take any actions, don't worry. Your job is to highlight the observations again and again. And here with my 20 years of corporate experience, and I have attended lots of board meetings, I would like to share with you that board is always happy to listen audit observations, which I always say in all my presentations. But if we see down the line managers, senior managers, they may not be happy because it's like a complaint on that behalf, but the management, top management is always happy to listen. So the cut short, the answer is that the auditor should highlight the same in every year, even if the action is not taken care of. Even if the management is not doing anything, our job is to highlight it every year if the deficiency is there. Good going. Story number 6. Okay. Okay. So there was a company and he was based out of London, and they're having a subsidiary in India and 2 subsidiaries in Russia and Canada. So what happened? The consolidation was happening for all the companies, but the financials of Canada could not be obtained. So as you all know that when you are having holding and subsidiary concept, you need to, you need to combine all the balance sheets and come out with a combined balance sheet. But the auditors could not find the financials of the Canada. So what should they do? So should they modify the report or should they leave it as it is? So let's see what the answer is. Auditors need to modify his report, means there is no other alternative with them. So actually you should have the financials for all the subsidiaries with you, but if it is not there, then you need to modify your report. And I'm again and again saying that participants who are going to give exams, definitely they will help from this. And who are chartered accountants or other field, they will also be benefited with this particular stories. I am on story number 7. Portfolio management services. So let me give a brief idea. I've done the audit of PMS of Franklin Templeton also and ABN AMRO. Portfolio management services is a very lucrative job also. And what they do, they manage the portfolio of celebrities and people who are having a lot of money. Only they can have a big portfolio. So there is a company who was engaged in providing PMS services to its clients with the approval of RBI. That's fine. That's a legal procedure. But what the company did, his own investments and the PMS money investment, they put everything in one bank only. So here I've written the answer itself. As an auditor, you need to ask the company to separate PMS accounts and get a report from an external auditor. So you must be a statutory auditor there. So as we all know that there are various kinds of audits. So you must be a statutory auditor there. So you can ask the company that you separate your PMS and get a report from an external auditor, and then only they will proceed with the audit. So with this, we completed our 7 stories, and this is 8th story, which is also a very short story, but important. So here you need to remember somewhere your logic will work and somewhere you have to remember certain sections and details. So this was a company which was listed on a stock exchange, and it has been asked to comply with the regulation 27 and schedule 2 for corporate governance compliance. So what this particular regulation talks about, that is what is being highlighted here. So LODR is listing obligations and disclosure requirements. SEBI guidelines, one of the important chapter in CA final, which is there, even it is in CA inter also. And it includes a lot of, what I can say, a lot of things which needs to be remembered. So one of that is highlighted here. So what you have to do, you have to submit a quarterly compliance report on corporate governance within 15 days from the close of the quarter. So a quarter is April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, Jan, Feb, March. So every April, May, June, 15 July, July, August, September, 15th October, October, November, December, 15 Jan, and Jan, Feb, March, 15th of the next. The report shall be signed by either by the compliance officer or by the chief executive officer of the company. So that is what this particular regulation talks about. Let's go to the next story, story number 9. Okay. This is quite interesting. So Mehta and company were appointed as the statutory auditors of AB Limited based out of Bangalore. So company was doing very good and having good revenue and good profit, good employee size also. But what happened that while doing audit, the auditors came to know that there is a fraud amounting to rupees 2 crore was done by the employees. So it's a big fraud. So now as a statutory auditor, there is a section 143, which talks about various actions to be taken in the fraud only. So here says 143.12. So whomsoever who are watching this particular video or live session or who will see later on, now you should not forget section 143. 12, okay, 12 we will add. But 143 is about fraud, and unfortunately the frauds are have increased recently. I'm not saying they were not there before, but now they get more of a media attention also. So as a statutory auditor, you need to report the fraud to the central government and in the auditor's report. So now why this central government thing I'm highlighting here? Because there is a particular turnover in which it is stated that you need to report the fraud to the central government, and the 2 crore is crossing that particular limit. So with this, we go to our last story of the day. And I think next time I have to have more stories because stories are getting completed very fast. Last story, a short story. Yeah, above 1 crore. Pranit is correct. So he was talking about the previous slide. Oh, just a second. Let me go back. Yeah. So this is above 1 crore. You have to report to the central government. A company is not following Minimum Wages Act requirement. What needs to be done by a statutory auditor? Report the same in the audit report with the management comments. So what happens that when you give an audit report, you get the management replies also. So what you have to do, you have to report the same in the audit report with the management replies. Why I'm highlighting this, that this particular auditor was thinking not to report the same because the management gave him a lot of stories and explanations that why he could not follow the Minimum Wages Act, and he will follow the same in the coming years. That's fine. You will follow the same in the coming years, that we will see in the coming years. But at present, it needs to be reported with the management comments. So with this, I think the 10 stories are completed, and next time I need to come with the more stories. And Ashna, I think we can open the question and answer session now.